Now I would like to introduce our first speaker, our keynote speaker, Christian Moueix. Christian is one of the rare owners who make wine in both old world and new world. And so obviously he has a very interesting perspective on that. What's even more interesting is that he's one of the rare persons who make dry farming wine in Napa. In addition, he is the president of the establishment Jean-Pierre Moueix and the owner of Dominus. In 2008, he was chosen as a legend of wine by the James Beard Foundation and Man of the Year by Decanter. Christian Moueix. Thank you.
Thank you. That's too much of a compliment. Thank you for welcoming me as your guest speaker this year. I have had from the early days a great admiration for the Fruition team. And it is a special honor for me to follow a renowned winemaker in 2013, my old friend Michel Rolland, and an excellent wine writer in 2014. I consider myself as a farmer, and after all, for a symposium like this one, it was about time to have a farmer. I love farming, I love the vineyards, and for me, a perfect day in my busy life is a day in the vineyard. That's what I call a perfect day. I'll tell, especially for the young people, a few words on my cursus. I was born in the small town of Libourne, 20 miles east of Bordeaux, where my father, Jean-Pierre, was a wine merchant. An extraordinary individual. He was a visionary. And in the 50s, he purchased vineyards in both Saint-Emilion and Pomerol. He was not a rich man. At that time, the vineyards were worth nothing because growers had lost money year after year, and I would almost say war after war. It's difficult to understand, but it has happened in the valley. There are cycles, as you know. Thus, it was logical for me to study agriculture, and I became a young agronomical engineer, class of 1965, 50 years ago. To complement my studies in France, I pursued graduate studies at UC Davis in 1968-69. Those were great times, and I was lucky, for instance, to work the 1968 harvest at BV with Andrei Chelychev. California in the 60s was fermentating, if I dare to say. So my father thought that I had had enough fun, and he called me back to manage the family vineyards in 1970. There was a lot of progress to be done in viticulture and winemaking. I was teaming with Jean-Claude Berrouet for many, many decades. And I had the idea in 1973 to crop thin for the first time, at least in modern times. If I give that example, it was so severely criticized that even the priest in Saint-Emilion condemned me officially, an anathema, because I was throwing on the soil what God has given me, you know. So it's interesting to see how things evolve. Yeah. I must say that after California, daily life in Libourne was hardly exciting, and I began looking for an opportunity elsewhere in the world. Finally, in 1981, thanks to Bob and Marguerite Mondavi, my beloved Marguerite, I looked into a joint venture for the Napanook Vineyard in Yonville, which was to become Dominus Estate. This has been the adventure of my lifetime. I have learned so much, and it has been enormously gratifying. It obliged me to define and articulate my philosophy on producing a wine. I shared that philosophy for many years with Dan Barron, who is here somewhere. When I proposed the joint venture to the previous owners, they were the John Daniels' daughters, I stipulated the following two conditions. One, I need 20 years to produce a good wine. Think of those new ventures. 2, and I wrote that in 1981, I will produce a wine without irrigation and without acidification. Acidification was very trendy in those days. Today, 34 years later, I will not change a word of my mission statement. For many newcomers, I would advise to think of what kind of wine they want to produce rather than to follow a trend. In other words, have your own philosophy and do not hesitate to take risks. A few words about dry farming. As you may know, irrigation of a vineyard is absolutely illegal in France. Watering one's vine is considered deforming the terroir, and thus growers may not irrigate their vines without losing the use of the name of the appellation. I am utterly convinced that dry farming allows the terroir to be perfectly expressed in a wine. The expression of a terroir, its complexity, its balance are all conveyed when one does not irrigate. Consequently, if the terroir is a good one, dry farming will produce a better wine. I did not come to this conclusion just by following the dictates of the INAO, Institut National des Appellations d'Origine. In 1990, I did irrigate a block of one of our vineyards in Pomerol. You may recall that 1990 was one of the best vintages ever for Bordeaux. Well, in August, the vines had lost most of their leaves, and I thought to experiment by watering that one block. It was startling to see how even a small amount of irrigation damaged the quality of that block, which could not be included in the final blend. This reaffirmed my skepticism toward the use of water. I feel certain that, given climate change, growers will experiment in just the exact opposite direction, reducing the irrigation of their vines. Already, there was an excellent article, many articles, in the LA Times last November, Farming Without Irrigation, I have it here, where Frank Litz from Frog's Leap Winery declared it is a forgotten art. I subscribe to those words. Andrei Chilichev never irrigated, by the way. We see other examples of people paying attention to the scarcity of water. Montes Alfa in Chile already notes on its label and foil that their vineyards is sustainable, dry farmed. For me, dry farming is the first step of sustainability. That's the latest publicity which you may have seen. Sustainable dry farm. They put it both on the label and on the foil. A scarier consideration appeared in 60 Minutes, depleting the water, last November as well. As a consequence of excessive irrigation, the ground basically collapses or compresses down and the land sinks, which leads to one to the question. Did the depletion of the water table in the Napa Valley have a role in the severe earthquake of August 24? To conclude about irrigation, I have confidence in fruition to advise the growers to practice minimal irrigation or even deficit irrigation. That's the new trendy word I heard. Now let us speak of the 2014 vintage. I have two questions. Did the earthquake affect the quality of the vintage? I read you a small passage of the history of Ridge Montebello. The Rosten family purchased this beautiful property for a song in 1901, right after a major wildfire. The family fortunes changed right after the 1906 earthquake, when several springs magically appeared on their property. They quickly planted grapes. At the Napanook Vineyard, our team, Todd Mostero, Guillaume Scholz, and myself, we had the feeling that the maturation of our grapes was delayed by the earthquake. That was my first question. Second question, and last. How is it that with the severe drought we faced and the dry farming we practiced at the Napanook Ranch, I had never seen a vineyard so green at harvest time. Can we produce a great vintage when there is so little stress as in 2014? From my French experience, when there are no yellow leaves by picking time, it cannot be a great vintage. I guess these questions will get an answer in today's symposium. Thank you again for inviting me and for your attention.